Keep your head up. You're not alone. Keep your head up. Keep your head up. We're halfway home.
It's time for Your Voices of Hope, a video podcast program that offers straight talk on some of the major issues facing us today: addiction, domestic violence, homelessness, human trafficking, and suicide. But more than that, it's our desire to inspire hope. Now, your host, Michelle Beyer.
Today, we're going to be talking about human trafficking. Human trafficking is defined as modern-day slavery. The average age of a female is 15 years old. Males are younger. It is believed that 83% of females and males that are taken are citizens. And imagine, let me put this in perspective, 83% looks like 1,300 school buses filled. My guest today was one of those 83%. She belonged to a religious cult, and you will hear how her innocence was stolen right out from underneath her. She is using a fake name today to protect herself and her children. Welcome, Becca. How are you today? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. We were talking before we came on today, and your story is simply horrifying to me. That you lost your whole childhood, and it saddens me. So tell us how you got into this church. Start out with what had happened and what this church is about.
Okay. So basically, I was raised by my father. He was my only parent. At the age of 1, I was abandoned by my mother. And so basically I stayed with him. He was an alcoholic. He was abusive, physically, emotionally. At the age of about 6 years old, I actually became homeless with my father. I believe it was because of his alcoholism and just the drug use or whatever. He didn't have any means to get a job. So we were homeless for a while, and that is when Child Protective Services first got involved, and they actually took me to a foster home, and this was back in LA County. That's where I was born. I remember being about 5 to 6 years old and being in a foster home for the first time. I believe I was there for a while. I was actually happy for a minute because they were the foster parents I had there. I still do remember they were nice to me and they treated me very good. I don't know how long it was. I couldn't tell the time. I was too small to know that, but I know that after a while I was returned back to my father. Um,
Do you know
the
why you were returned?
um, I didn't know at that time, but now that I look back, I believe the foster care system has this thing where it's a parent reunification. Their goal is always to have the child reunify with the parent.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, in my opinion, I don't believe it should be that way because parents that are abusive, in my opinion, are always abusive. I don't think a lot of them change. It continues. And so basically, I think that's what happened to me. I think they returned me back to him because he probably went to court and said, I'm not going to do that anymore. You know, we're going to get a home. I'm going to get her a stable place to live. And that was that. So yeah, I went back with him. I remember that's when we moved to Fresno, California, which is about 4 hours away from LA. This is when I remember the abuse just continued. I mean, he was working now. We weren't homeless. he met my stepmom. He got into a relationship, so he was with her. Um, we were living in a house, I remember, and he just continued abusing me, hitting me. I remember going to school sometimes, and teachers would notice bruising on my like legs when I would wear shorts, and that's when they would call the police. CPS would get involved again, and then there I was again being taken away. This was when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10. It just continued. Sometimes the neighbors would hear me screaming because he was hitting me or beating me. And so the neighbors would call the police, and then the police would come. And since there was already a record of abuse, they immediately would just take me away. For some
Didn't your
strange
stepmother try and
Oh, no,
protect you, or did he beat her too?
no, he actually wouldn't beat my stepmother, but my stepmother was on my dad's side for some reason. She was one of those like evil stepmothers that kind of like to make things worse instead of making it better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So yeah, basically she wasn't on my side. She always was on my dad's side. She even sometimes made things a little more worse for me by telling my dad, "Oh, your daughter didn't do this or she didn't do that." You know, so basically I think she was okay when I was taken away because then she wouldn't have me there. You know, that's what I think. So yeah, I was turned into a foster home, gone back home again. It was like that for a long time. Like I said, I have no idea why. If they would have asked me, if Child Protective Services would have asked me, what do you want to do? I would have told them, I don't want to go home. I would have told them, can you find like a loving, like adoptive family for me and just let me like start a new life somewhere. I don't want to be there anymore. But unfortunately, they don't ask you that. They
No, they don't, and I wish they would sometimes too.
yeah.
But sometimes a child will just say, I don't want to go home just because they're getting grounded. But,
Yeah. You
so
know, but in my case, they had a lot of evidence. They had a
they
lot of
did.
pictures
Right.
of my, abuse, but yet, they never asked me. And for some reason, I never had, I guess just because I was a child, I never had that opinion. Like my opinion didn't count. And so, yeah, so at the age of 11, this is when we started going to this cult. My dad he got baptized, my stepmother got baptized, and we started attending regularly. This place had services at 5 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and 6 p.m. So it was 3 services a day. When we first started going, we basically had to go to all of them because they told you at church, the more you come, the more blessings you will get from God. Um, and every time you go, you also have to give money. You have to, I'm guessing, if you put it together, three things a day equals more money for them. You know what I mean? And basically that's how it was. Like we were going to church all the time. I would have to go at the 5 a.m. service with my parents, with my dad. And when I didn't want to go, I would get beat. I would get woken up. I would tell my dad, I don't want to. I'm tired. I had to go to school at like 7, get ready for school. Yet I still had to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go to this church that I didn't even like or understand. Um, so yeah, we would go to church at 5 in the morning, and then at the 9 one, it was only Saturdays and Sundays when I didn't go to school, and then the 6 o'clock one, we were always there also. Um, excuse me. They always had events also where like for Mother's Day they would sell flowers. For Valentine's Day they would sell flowers, and so they had like us join. Like every family had to join to like sell. So like if my stepmom went, I had to go with her. It was against my will. I didn't want to go be there like I don't know, 12 hours selling flowers, but I had to. Like I couldn't go and play with my friends and do what little girls do. I had to be doing selling flowers and making money for this cult. um they would make food like on Sunday sometimes, and we had to help like make tamales or make this or make that. It seemed like there was always something that had to be done to make more money. um Even when it came to like going to like get more members to come to our church, they made me go with these adult people, like 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds. And I was this little girl, and I had to go with them because I was already baptized. So basically, I was part of this church. I had to go with them, and we would just go and knock at people's houses and just basically tell them, come to our church. Our church is the best. This is where God is, you know? And I'm basically just there the whole time, like, you know, wanting to be at home playing or doing something else, but I had to be there. And that was like a blessing for me. So it was basically not a choice. It was just you do it and you have to do it because it's a blessing from God, and that's what you have to do. And so basically that went on for a while, for years, 11, 12, 13. At the age of 13 and a half, I was I went to a foster home again. There was some my dad, of course, beat me again, probably because I didn't want to go to church or something, because it always had to do with church. And so I went there, and this foster home turned out to be really, really like bad. Like they were not very fond of me and or my friend. We were both Hispanic, and they would make fun of the way that I dressed because I obviously wore skirts, because that's all that I owned, because that's how they made me dress. I had to wear long skirts, no makeup, no jewelry, just basically simple, as they called it. I couldn't even wear any shirts like this. They had to be shirts that covered my arms. You know, it was just all strict. And so the people there at the foster home thought it was the funniest thing. They would make fun of me. And one day, you know, like me and my friend we just became tired of it. And going back, sorry, I skipped something very important. When I was about the age of 12 and a half or 13, I actually met a member there at the church. He basically was a member there, and he would see how sometimes I would get to church. I guess I look sad. You know how when you get like you get in trouble, you know, you look sad, or you get beat, or you have your eyes are swollen from crying. So he basically would ask me like, are you okay? What's wrong? You know, and I would tell him I'm okay. You know, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. I'm fine. But he was very persistent in the way he would always like see me after church, and he would come up to me and ask me. One day, when we were in the back of the church, it was like a Sunday. They were making food back there, and I was helping. He went up to me and basically told me like, what's wrong? Like, why do you always look so sad? Like, just tell me, is anything wrong? And I told him, you know what? I said, yeah. I said, my dad hits me all the time. I always get forced to come to this church that I don't like. And basically it's hell for me. Like, I don't like it. Like, I hate it. And he was like, oh, well, I'm so sorry about that. Like, I'm going to pray for you, and I hope that everything gets better. You know, it is a blessing to come to church. You know, it's a blessing, and I will pray for you so that your dad, you know, like stops doing that to you. You know, I hate seeing you so sad all the time. He goes, but look, he goes, I'm going to give you one of my business cards, you know, and if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. I'm your friend. You know, anything you need, you just call me. And so he gave me this business card, and I put in my pocket. I kept it. And then that's when I went to that foster home that I mentioned earlier at 13 and a half. And we were there for a while. And then when my friend and I decided to run away, basically I didn't have anyone. My dad, my stepmom, my sisters hated me, and I really didn't have anybody on my mom's side. So I don't have anybody to go to, no cousins, no uncles, nothing. I was basically alone. So my friend told me, well, we can go to my mom's house. You know, I'm sure she wouldn't mind like accepting you there with her. You know, we will make it work out. And so we made a plan, and we decided to run away from this foster home, like in the middle of the night. And then I told her, hey, I have someone that I think could help us. Like, he told me, you know, if I ever needed anything, to call him. And so I pulled out the card, and we actually called him from the foster home, and I told him, hey, you know, this is me. Do you remember me? He's like, yeah, of course. And I said, me and my friend are in this foster home, and we don't want to be here anymore, and we want to run away. Like, is there any way you can like give us a ride and like take us to her mom's house? And he's like, oh yeah, totally. And it was like really late. It was probably like 12, 1 in the morning. Everybody was sleeping. sleeping, because that was our plan, to do it when nobody watched. And so he basically came in the middle of the night and picked us up. We gave him the address, and he took us to my friend's mom's. And after that, he just like stuck around. Like, I wasn't expecting for him to stick around. I mean, I thought maybe he's gonna give us a ride and that's it. But he just started going over to my friend's mom's house all the time, uninvited most of the time. Sometimes I would look out my window and there was his white truck right there. And by the way, that white truck, I still see it out in the street, and it just gives me anxiety to see that model of truck, because I remember it. And
So you don't actually see him in the truck. You just see trucks that look like that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just
Okay.
like truck that looks like his truck just
Okay.
causes anxiety, because it just brings back the memories,
The trauma of it all.
Yes. And so, yeah, so he would just show up out of nowhere. And sometimes I would look out my window, his truck was parked out there, and I would tell my friend, why is he here? Why do you think he comes? And she's like, I don't know, maybe he's trying to protect us. I don't know. We were kids, we didn't know. And
Right.
so one day after that, he went a couple times on the door. He would knock, and he would ask us if we were okay, if he could take us out to eat. So he would take us to like a restaurant and like buy us food, or sometimes he even took us to Walmart to get us like shampoo, like deodorant. And we thought that was pretty cool that he would do that for us, because nobody else would do that for us. Like, at least for me, like my friend had her mom, but I felt alone. I felt like, well, he's the only friend I got, like, besides my friend, like, he's nice. And so, yeah, so one day after that, like, I think a few weeks after, he ended up showing up at my friend's house, and my friend wasn't there that day. I don't know if this was planned or not, if he knew she wasn't there, I don't know. But he invited me to his house. He basically told me, come over, I have a surprise for you, like, it's gonna be cool, like, just come, like, I'll bring you back, we're not gonna be there that long, just come over, you're always just here, you go nowhere, like, you're just bored all the time, let me just invite you to my house. And so at that time, being 14 and very stupid, like, I kind of got excited, and I thought, oh, a surprise, like, I wonder what he's gonna give me, like, it just seemed like kind of like a exciting idea, to go with him. And so, clueless, like, I got dressed and I went with him. And as soon as I got there, like, there was no one there at the house. I don't even know if he lived with anybody or not, but there was no one there. And immediately he started like turning on candles. He started putting the music on like really low, like with like some soft music. And then I thought that was awkward. I thought that was weird. I wasn't sure why he was doing that. But after that, he took my hand and he invited me to his room. And he was showing me his room, his posters, his stuff. And then after, he set me down, and then he's like, don't be scared. I'm not going to hurt you. Whatever is going to happen here, I promise you it's not bad. Like, it's not bad at all. Please don't be scared. Everything's going to be okay. And at that point, I knew something was wrong. Like, something in my brain just said, you got to get out of there. Like, this is wrong. This is not something good. I immediately tried to get up, and I told him, take me home right now. Take me home. I started crying. I remember just my tears were just flowing down. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. And it's not like I could yell out for help because there was nobody there at the house. I felt like completely hopeless. And he just kept like insisting and saying, everything's going to be fine. Like, stop, don't cry. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. And he still seemed like this person, he's so nice to me. Like, he's not going to like do anything to me. And like, then little by little, he just started like taking off my clothes, and I knew what was gonna happen. And at that moment, I think I just felt like there's nothing I can do. Like, I'm pretty much like, there's nobody's gonna help me. Nobody's gonna help me. And so I just remember him getting on top of me, taking off my pants, raping me, and me just pushing him away the whole time. The whole time he was doing what he was doing, I remember me pushing him. I think I even scratched him. I remember scratching him at one point. And I remember the whole time he just telling him, please just get off me, get off me, get off me. And he wouldn't get off me. And then until he was done, he got off me. And then he told me, he set me down. I was crying, and he just said, everything's okay. Like, I didn't do anything bad to you. Like, you're a woman now. Like, you're not a little kid anymore. You're a woman. And as he said that to me, like, I realized that he thought what he did was a good thing. Um, in my mind, I thought it was like the most horrible thing like anybody's ever done to me. And at 8 years old, I actually got molested by a kid that was almost my age, but he didn't rape me. He just like touched me. And I thought that was terrible. But this was far most the most terrible thing. Like, even my dad beating me, all the things that I like went through, like, to me, that was just like the most horrible thing that's ever happened to me. And I remember me sitting down, putting my clothes back on. Like, I was like so nervous. I remember I was shaking and there was like blood on the sheets. And at that moment, I didn't know, like, I was stupid and naive about sex back then. And I didn't know that when you lost your virginity, you bled. I didn't know that. So like, as I saw the blood on the sheets, like, I got scared and I was just like, what did he do to me? Like, I'm bleeding, you know. And I remember just freaking out completely and telling them, please, like, just take me home, take me home, take me home. I don't want to be here. And yeah, he like, I got dressed, he took me home. I don't remember nothing after that. I think after that I was just numb. Like,
Stupid and naive is not how I would describe this, because at 14 you're not supposed to know all this. You're not supposed to be going through all of this. This is, and how old was he?
he was 28 or 29 years old.
This is disgusting. This is absolutely positively disgusting. So don't ever say you're stupid. Don't ever say naive, because again, these are things you're not supposed to know. So, I mean, nowadays, of course, kids know these things, but unfortunately, they're so advanced because of technology. But so now he's taking you home, or back to foster care.
No, he took me back to my friend's mom's where I was living, because I was
Okay.
remember staying with my friend's moms. And all I remember in that ride, like, I don't remember nothing much. Like, it's almost like I was just numb the whole way. Um, he didn't say a word really. The only thing I remember him saying is, don't tell anyone. Like, this is between us. Nobody needs to know. You know, he rephrased that like a few times. Just don't tell, you know, blah blah blah. I don't remember much of what he said. I was numb at that point, and I just remember being dropped off, and he never showed up again after that. I never heard about him. He just wanted what he wanted and he got it, and that's it. Like, he never showed up again. I never heard about him, and obviously I didn't call him. I mean, I didn't want anything to do with him either. I was actually glad, but I remember for months I was so in fear. Like, I would look out the window to see if I would see his truck. Like, I was in fear, and I wanted to get out of my friend's mom's like as soon as possible. Like, I didn't want to live there anymore. One day I actually got invited to a party, like probably like a few months after that. And this is where I met my ex-husband. Coincidentally, and to my bad luck, he was actually from that church also. That is why we kind of had this connection, because we both said, oh yeah, like, I went to that church. And he's like, me too. Like, I don't really go, but you know, my parents like raised me there and I went there. And I'm like, well, me too, you know. And we kind of like connected that way. And after that, like, we would just, he would go visit me, we would just talk in his car. He never like tried to hurt me or abuse me or anything. We would just talk. It was like he was my friend. And after about a month or so, I remember him telling me one day, why are you like here? Like, you're telling me you're not happy here. You're telling me you don't like it here because people are in and out. Because in my friend's house, they did drugs sometimes. There was, people had sex in the rooms, and it was just like a bad like situation. I was just scared to be there. Also because of what I told you, I didn't want like that guy to ever show up and like hurt me again. And of course I didn't tell my ex-husband about it. I didn't tell anybody. He offered his apartment. He told me, why don't you just come live with me? You'll be safe there. I'm never home. I have a full-time job, so you're pretty much going to be by yourself. And you'll be safe there. Like, you don't have to worry about anyone like bothering you. Like, you'll be safe. And so at that moment, being like a young girl, like, to me, it seemed like the best option for me at that time,
And
because
how old were you?
I think I was already 15 by then.
Okay.
Yeah,
What? Oh. And he was how old?
21.
Okay.
Yeah. And so yeah, so I ended up moving in with him. At first it was just kind of like a friendship. He just talked to me, it was nice, and then one day, like I believe he like we got drunk or something happened and we had sex, and after that we just started having sex. It wasn't like, you want to be my girlfriend and blah blah blah. Like it just turned into that, to sex, and we just started like having sex. And even though in my mind, I don't know if at that time I could have been in love yet or I knew what love was, but I didn't feel that for him. Like I didn't see him that way. I saw him more like a person that saved me from something bad, from something where like I wasn't secure, I didn't feel safe, and he took me away from that. And that's how I saw him. And so then after having sex a few times, I ended up getting pregnant, and he decided that since I was pregnant, we had to go to church and talk to our pastors, the pastors of the church. He's like, "You're pregnant now," so this it kind of like I guess he thought that it's something more serious now since I'm pregnant. And so we ended up going to the pastors of this cult and sitting down in their office and telling them basically, you know what, we're together, we live together, we're not married, we have sex, and I got pregnant. I'm a few months pregnant. And the pastor right away said, okay, well, you guys gotta get married. He didn't even ask me how old I was. He didn't know nothing. Like he basically just said, you have to get married. He knew I was a child. I'm sure I looked like a child. I was probably like maybe already like 6 months pregnant then. I was advanced, because I remember like you could already see like my stomach. So yeah, he said he wanted us to get married, and I remember me going to my dad and my stepmom, having a private talk with them and telling them, I don't want to marry this guy. He hits me, he abuses me, he forces me to have sex when I don't want to. I don't want to marry him. Like, please don't like make them do this to me. Like, I don't want to get married. And I remember like pleading to them, like crying, I don't want to do this. And they said, I remember my dad making a comment about me opening my legs. So then I have to be a grown woman now, since I decided to do what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, they were not supportive at all. So then I tried the next ones. I tried the pastors, and I said, look, he hits me. He sexually abuses me. He forces me to have sex, forces me to do oral things on him that I don't want to do. And I don't want to marry him. I don't love him. I don't care about him that way. He's a bad person. I just want to get away from him. I need help. Like, I want you guys to help me get away from him. I'll raise the baby alone. He's like, you're not doing that. You're getting married, because you guys are both from this church. You guys are both baptized here. And if you don't do that, your baby is going to go to hell. And if anything were to happen to that baby, once it's born, it's going to hell. And whatever happens to you guys, if you guys were get into a car crash or anything, you're going to hell too. You need to do the right thing. And the right thing is to get married.
And so that scares you.
Yeah, of
You
course.
don't want your baby going to hell.
I was terrified, yeah, especially because I already knew about the doctrine in this church that had been taught to me since I was 11. I knew about all this. I knew that they always tell you, if you do certain things, you're going to hell. If you don't give money, God is going to punish you. If you don't help selling roses, God is going to punish you. Like, they always want you involved, and they want you to be doing what they say. And if you don't do it, it's always, God will punish you. God will punish you. So that's always in your head. Like, God is going to punish you. God is going to punish you. And so, yeah, so I ended up writing with his mom, my stepmom, my dad, him, and myself. And we rode to Reno, Nevada, and I was married there with him. We got married actually. My son was born July 28th. We got married August 6th. So we were married a few days after my son was born. Yeah, I had
That's,
a newborn baby, and I was yeah, it
and
was
you
it
were
was
what, 15?
I think by then I was already 16 when I already had him.
16, married, baby, essentially now a grown up.
Yeah.
So how long were you married to him?
We were married for about, we were together for about 7 years, but we were married for a long time. We actually just got divorced in 2016. But we were together for 7 years. And during those 7 years, I had two more children with him. Um, Two of them, in my opinion, I believe were from rape, because a lot of the times that we had sex, it was forced. And birth control wasn't allowed at church. So I wasn't allowed to do birth control. In church, they believe if God sends you a child, it's a blessing. You don't prevent that from happening. So basically, it's like if you have 10 children, you have 10 children, because that's how many God wants you to have. And so, yeah, I ended up having 3 children with him. I had 3 children. I was 19 years old, and I had 3 kids.
Wow. Was he a good husband?
No, oh no. He was terrible. I found out that he was doing meth. I found out he was a drug dealer. He would hit me, choke me, pull my hair, force me to have sex. He would tell me I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I don't know how to do anything. Whenever I would cook for him, he would tell me I'm so stupid, I don't know how to do anything. It was just the most abusive relationship you could ever imagine in every aspect.
And
And
did he ever force you to have sex with other men?
no, no, thank God he didn't. But yeah, he forced me to do oral things to him that I didn't want to do. He Whenever he wanted, and whenever I would tell him I don't want to, he would tell me, "You're my wife." And another thing is that I did go to my pastor and I told him that he was doing that to me. And you know what he said? He said, "He's your husband. So you need to sleep with him. That
Yeah,
is your obligation. It's in the Bible.
right.
If you're married, you have to have sex with your husband." So basically, then I go home and then I feel guilty and I'm just like, okay, well, then this is normal, then I guess. Then there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. Part of me is telling me I hate this, but part of me is telling me I guess it's normal because this is what God says, right? This is what
Right.
it says in the Bible, so it's what I have to do. I have to oblige and do whatever he says.
Wow. You know, and that's what's really sad, and that's what makes people hate religion, which the Bible, in my opinion, is not religion. The Bible is the word. But people will use the word and they will twist it to fit their own gains, I guess, or whatever, because it does say a woman has to submit to her husband. But at that point in time, that woman loves her husband. But it also, there's so much more to that. There's a different meaning to it than how they presented that to you, and you shouldn't have even been married to him. So that's ludicrous, sad. Did he did he ever hit or abuse the children?
Yeah, he did. He was very abusive to my children as well. I would defend them and I would get in the middle of it all the time. He was almost like this sergeant to them. Like they had to do everything perfect. Whenever they would spill a cup of water, he would spank them. He was,
Wait a minute. Did you say steal a cup of water?
whenever they would spill a cup of
Oh.
water, like, a child does that all the time. It's something normal. He would spank them for that. Just for the stupidest things, that children obviously do. He would always spank them, yell at them, just like he was treating me basically, except without the sexual abuse. But he was being emotionally abusive to them, obviously. And yeah, I was tired of it and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to go for help. Pastors didn't help me. Nobody thought that he was doing anything bad. And so basically I met this social worker. I think I was getting government help back then. And I told her about what was going on because she noticed like how my demeanor and how I look sad. And she asked me, "What's wrong? Like, is anything going on at home?" And I told her, like, I'm in like an abusive relationship. Like this man, like forces me to have sex. Like he hits my kids, he hits me. He comes home in the middle of the night and he pulls my hair and tells me, who are you sleeping with? Like he always thought that I was sleeping with other people when he would come home in the middle of the night, and he would go in the closet and like look to see if I was hiding somebody. That's how I knew he was on drugs. He just didn't act normal. Like something was wrong with him. And so I told her, and she goes, "You got to get out of there. Like, you can't be there anymore." And I told her, "But my church doesn't allow it." Like, I remember me telling her, "My church doesn't allow it." She goes, "Doesn't matter if your church doesn't allow it." She goes, "God is not like that. God is not the way they're making God seem like to you. That's not how he is.
Right.
They are totally lying to you." And I remember her telling me, like, "We need to get you out of this situation, like, as fast as possible." And I remember one night, I actually like had bruises from him. I usually had bruises all the time. That's why sometimes I wouldn't even go to church, because it was embarrassing to show up with like bruises on my face or on my arms. Um, she helped me one night when he was at work, and we basically just picked up whatever we had, our clothes on our back and a couple bags, and she took us to a shelter, and they took pictures of everything, and they filed a police report, and I believe he did do jail time, and he pled guilty for the abuse, for the sexual abuse, and he was in jail for a while. I don't know what happened after that. I ended up getting my own place after being in that shelter. They helped me get an apartment. So yeah, but after that, life wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I would imagine that it wouldn't be easy.
Yeah,
So, how old were you when you were able to get away from him?
I was about, I think like 21 or so.
And so now you have your own apartment, you're away from him, and you say life isn't easy. Well, life isn't easy for anybody, but now you've got three kids abused mentally and physically, and you're a hot mess, literally, I'm sure. How did you function? Were you able to get a job? Did you graduate school? You said you didn't graduate.
No,
Um,
he did not graduate school because he wouldn't allow me to go to school. He had a fear that I was gonna like flirt with other men. So he thought that school wasn't good for me, and so I never got to even get a GED or high school diploma. I actually stopped going to school when I was in ninth grade. Fairly early. And I also forgot to tell you something. At the age of 19, it was one day when he gave me like a really bad beating, and I was just done. I was done with life. I know I had my children, but at that moment, I didn't think of that. I just knew that I didn't want to be in this world anymore. I knew that I just couldn't do it anymore. And I ended up taking some pills, and I tried to commit suicide at the age of 19. And they put me in what you call like a mental health clinic. I was there for like about 3 days. They had me like on suicide watch, and then basically I didn't talk to them a lot about what happened. I basically just told them I'm depressed. I For some reason I didn't want to talk about my abuse then. I don't think I was ready for it. When the psychologist asked me like what's going on at home, I just told them, well, he's abusive to me, and I don't like it, and that's why, like, I really didn't tell him the whole picture, everything that had happened. I didn't. I just kind of just wanted to go home at that point. And so, yeah, I went back home. I remember him telling me that I was crazy. Like, why the F would I do something like that? Like, he totally shamed me for doing that. And so I lasted with him a couple more years. And then after that, like, I was gone. I mean, the first chance that I got, which was, sent from God, I believe, this lady, like, she helped me. And I got away. I got away with my kids, but life wasn't easy after that. I mean, it's still not. I still deal with anxiety. I deal with depression, with PTSD. Like, I have so much like scars from my past, from everything, but I'm trying my best to deal with it like as best as I can.
and you had met other men after that. Um, have you had any normal relationships? Are you in a relationship now?
Um, I've never had a normal relationship after that. Every man that I like get with is either emotionally abusive, is either an alcoholic. It's always something. Like I've never been in a how would you say that, in a happy relationship. I'm 36 years old, and I still could honestly look at you and tell you that I don't think I've been in love yet with anybody. I haven't found it yet.
You probably don't even know what that emotion is.
Yeah, probably don't. I mean, I think about it and I read it in stories and I'm like, well, I want that one day. I want to like get married and like have a loving relationship and have a man that like takes care of me and protects me and does all this like awesome things for me. But it's just like in my mind, like a dream, like I don't ever see it happening, I really don't, because of all like the years that I've been like in constant like trauma. Like it just feels like I've never had a break. I've never had one. And I just want to break. Like I want peace in my life. I want to, go back to school. I want to get a degree and take care of my kids, have our own place, and just like be happy for once. Maybe one day if I'm in a happy relationship, that'll be awesome. Maybe one day I will find somebody good. I don't know.
Well, I are you in therapy?
Yes, I
Okay. So you're
twice.
working on yourself.
Mhm.
Well, there's your start. You know, my thought is there's several things. Working on yourself is the start because you have to learn to love yourself. And once you love yourself, then others can start loving you. And now you've got to actually retrain your brain because you always go for the same men. And that's normal for a while there. But going to therapy is good. How are your kids doing?
Um, well, my two oldest ones, they're already on their own. They have their own apartment, they're working, they're away from their dad, which really to me is a blessing. They don't talk to him or anything. I think they realize like how he is and the kind of person he is. My daughter lives with me still. She's 17 now. She's a very smart child, by the way. She graduated 1 year early. So she's gonna start college this August, and she's great. She's great. Everything's good, and I have another kid. He's 6 years old, and he's living with me. And actually, recently his dad beat him. Um, I left that relationship 3 years ago because he was an alcoholic. He was abusive, emotionally mostly to me. And since then, we kind of shared custody. A week him and a week me. We never went to court. We just decided we'll do it on our own. And one day I got a call from his mom. She was distraught, and she told me, you need to come to the house right now. And I told her, is Aiden okay? And she's like, just come now. And so I ended up showing up, and she was like crying, and I told her, what's going on? And she's like, okay, so um Aiden's dad dropped them off today, and I saw some bruises on his hands, and I asked him what happened, and he said he fell, but I didn't really think that was from a fall. So I ended up just telling him, okay. I took him a shower, and as I took off his clothes, she goes, he had bruises everywhere. And she told me he had bruises on his arms, on his back, on his legs, on the bottom of his legs, close to his ankles. He was bruised completely from his face all the way to his feet. And I freaked out, and I told her, where is he? And she's like, he's in the house right now. Like, please don't, he's calm right now. Like, I just wanna, you can take him right now, but please let me just talk to you first. I wanted to tell you, what happened. And I was just it was like a shock to me. It was triggering for me. Like right away, my mind went to like, I've been through this before. This is what happened to me when I was little. Now it's happening to my 6 year old. Like I was so shocked. I was so worried. And I remember taking my child. I brought him to the house. I took off his clothes. I took pictures, and I was in shock. I was in total shock. Like he had bruises like from everywhere. Like this monster like just beat up my child, a 6 year old, and it was terrible. And it was so terrible to watch for me because I always told myself, I am not going to let this happen to my children. I never like beat my children. I never hit them because I never wanted them to feel what I felt. And seeing that was so painful for me. Um, it was horrible, and I immediately called the police, and I told them, and they came. They took pictures. A forensic nurse ended up coming the next day and taking pictures, and right now we're actually going to court. He might go to jury trial, and I'm hoping that he gets punished for this. It's terrible because I feel like the system is so like messed up. Like the DA is telling me that they might just give him 52 weeks of parenting classes. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's what you're gonna give him for what he did for to my child? Do you see the bruises? Like, did not only, let's just say, the physical bruising, but the like emotional bruising. Like, my child is he's bruised for the rest of his life now.
Right.
Oh, like this is terrible, and I'm so like distraught that they're wanting to just give him 52 weeks of parenting classes. It's, to me, it's baffling. It's
This
ridiculous.
is definitely absurd, but our system is very flawed. And I know that, I live in Ohio and I've watched it. I can see where they take away kids from families that really shouldn't be taken away, and then the families that should don't get them taken away. So the system's very flawed. But you are going to, you see, you're so strong. You can see that and you can hear that. So I have faith that you're going to get through this. You're going to get healthy, mind, body, and soul, and you're going to live an amazing life. Whether you become an advocate for others, which I can see you doing because this is your first time really talking about it, or so you're going to have this to start you off with, and you can take this video and start doing other things and helping other women, and speaking other places, so you can actually inspire other women, and help people. So you need to learn to love yourself, and I think you're going to do that. I think you're on your way to healing.
I hope so too. Yeah, that's like my biggest wish that I have. Like, I just want to heal from all this and just leave everything behind. All the bad things that happened to me, all the trauma. Like, I just want to leave it behind me, like a new chapter in my life. It's what I want. You know, definitely.
So, if you could leave everybody with one thing, what is it here that you would like to leave everybody with?
Well, first of all, like I appreciate like everyone that's listening to me and hearing my story. Like this is something that it's a dream of mine to just get my story out and possibly maybe even help someone out there that's going through the same thing as I am or went through the same thing as I am, that you're not alone, because it's happened to me too, and I'm still here. I've struggled and I still am struggling to this day, but I'm trying my best to like go forward, and I have children that need me. And thank you for everyone for watching, and don't give up. Like, just know that God is good. Actually, that's all I want to say. Like, for a lot of years, like I was taught that God is a bad person, that God punishes, that God doesn't wants you to do things a certain way or else there's going to be a consequence. That's not God. I've learned that from my friend that you know about. She's been like telling me a lot about God. She's like a super Christian, and she always tells me, honey, God loves you and God knows the pain that you went through, and he's going to reward you for all that pain that you've been through, and one day you're going to be happy. And that's what I see, and that's what I want. And yeah, like thank you for everyone for watching. Like, I appreciate it.
Well, um, I think you're gonna do good things, and I want to thank you for coming on today and telling your story. And I do want to thank everyone out there for listening to another episode of Your Voices of Hope. And if you have a story of recovery, please go to my website, yourvoicesofhope.com, or my Facebook page and sign up to speak to us and tell us your story. And as always, I want to leave you with this. Love yourself. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Your Voices of Hope with your host, Michelle Beyer. This podcast and earlier programs are available for viewing on our Facebook page, Your Voices of Hope, or our website, yourvoicesofhope.com. A new podcast is uploaded and ready to view every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m.
Keep your head up, keep your head up. You're not alone. Keep your head up, keep your head up. We're halfway home, so keep your head up, keep your head up. You're not alone.